Hi everybody and welcome back. Now most likely in our game, every time we add new functionality, we're going to need to add new settings as well. So instead of writing settings throughout our code, let's write a module called settings that contains a class called settings to store all the settings of our game in one place. So as you can see here, I've created a new file called settings.py, and that is stored in the main file with my main Python game code. Now when we modify our game, we'll simply change some values in settings.py instead of searching through all of our files. So let's start to fill settings.py now. So let's create a class called settings. Give it a description. A class to store our game's settings. Simple enough. Next, def and our init function self. And what is this going to do? Well, it's going to initialize our game settings and screen settings. Perfect. Close off our comment. Now, what do we put in here? Okay, let's go self.screen width equals 1200. Self.screen height equals 600. Now I'm just changing that from 800 to 600, which was in our first lecture, because my screen's a little bit smaller here. I'm on my Mac laptop, but you can adjust these settings for whatever size your own screen is at home. And then self.bg underscore color equals 135, 206, 250. There we go. So that's our settings class. Now what we want to do is we want to go back into our main file, which is invaders from Python 3. And I'm naming these 1, 2, 3 because these are code files that I'm going to provide with each lecture. So you can just call this file invaders from Python, but I have them named 1, 2, 3 to correspond to their lectures. So back in here now, what we need to do is at line 5 here, we import settings into our main file. So from settings, so from the file called settings, import settings. So import the class settings. There we go. Next, what we need to do is we need to create an instance of settings and store it. So here under pygame.init, I'm going to create an instance of our settings, and I'm going to shorthand the name of this game. So invaders from Python, so INFROMPY, short for invaders from Python. So invaders from Python underscore settings equals settings. There we go. Now, what we can do here now is we can start to remove and replace some code. So let's just have a look. We start off here with our screen width and height, which are no longer needed in this form. And what we can put in here is invaders from Python underscore settings dot screen width, comma, invaders from Python settings dot screen height. Perfect. Next, what we want to do is we want to remove this piece of code here, which is set the background color, because we're going to set that now in our settings. So we can take that out completely. Let's just remove the couple of lines that we added in for that. There we go. Then down here where we have our screen fill, we just change the background color here to invaders from Python settings.bg color. So we're importing arguments here from our settings class. Okay, there we go. Now let's run this and see what happens, and fingers crossed. There we go, perfect. What we've done now is our program still runs perfectly. It gives us our blue screen, not the blue screen of death, thank God, for any Windows users out there. I don't know if that's still a thing or not. But what we've done is now we created a class called settings, which is here. We then imported that class into our main program file here from settings import. Then using our settings, we were able to remove some code and add in some code. So over time, you're going to see how that's going to make our code a lot simpler and a lot easier to write new code to, and a lot easier to debug. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture.